When I Fall by Scarlet Emerald 32. Chapter 40. Talisa and Eugene hopped out of the RV and looked around at the kingdom. A light frost had settled over everything, leaving it sparkling in the late evening light.
You know, as much as I love Alexandria, it's always nice to come back here. It really is beautiful in its own way.
I can see the appeal.
Talisa, Eugene?
They looked to their left and saw Henry walking towards them.
Henry, look at you. I swear you've grown a foot since the last time I saw you.
Not that much, but a few inches. When did you guys get back?
Right now. We decided to make this our first stop before we went anywhere else so we could check in on Nabila. Where is everybody?
You got back just in time. Everybody is over there now, come on.
No, you're kidding. Really?
They hurried excitedly behind Henry as he walked across the compound. When they got to the small house that Nabila and Jerry had moved into after they'd gotten married, Henry knocked on the door, and after a few seconds, Jerry answered it. He looked at Henry and then over his shoulder to where Talisa and Eugene stood. A huge grin broke across his face and he threw his hands up.
Dude, I can't believe you're here.
He stepped around Henry to pick Talisa up in a crushing hug as she laughed, and then turned to give one to Eugene as well.
When did you guys get here?
Just a few moments ago. We decided yours would be the first port of call, seeing as Nabila's due date was rapidly approaching, and Henry here informed us that our timing ended up being altogether fortuitous.
Sure did.
Jerry seemed so full of excitement and joy that he couldn't hold still.
You want to come see them?
Is that even a question?
He grinned again as he ushered them inside.
So everything's good? Everybody's healthy?
Everything was awesome. Nabila was an absolute rock star, and Zeke is perfect.
Zeke, huh?
Yup, figured who better to name him after than the guy who gave us our home, and is basically the reason we found each other, you know?
He pushed open the door to the room, and Talisa saw that Carol was sitting on the bed next to Nabila, and Ezekiel was standing at the foot of it, smiling down at them affectionately. They all looked up in surprise and delight when they saw who had come in. Happy tears filled Nabila's eyes as she smiled up at Talisa.
Talisa? Oh, girl, I was hoping you'd get here in time to see him today.
Talisa walked over, perching on the bed next to her friend to give her a hug.
What can I say? Something told me today was the day I needed to be here. Can I meet this little man of yours?
Nabila tilted the bundle in her arms so Talisa could see the baby. He was adorable, with a full head of soft, dark curls and already round, chubby cheeks. He was fast asleep, and Talisa reached out a hand and gently stroked the top of his head.
He's absolutely perfect.
You don't gotta tell me.
They all chuckled appreciatively.
Heard you got top billing.
Talisa shot a look over at Ezekiel, who smiled.
A great honor to be sure. It is my sincerest hope that young Zeke will surpass me in all ways and take up the moniker with nobility and strength, and given the extraordinary people who will raise him, I have no doubt my hopes will not be in vain.
Can you please stop with that talk?
Nabila brushed a tear from her eye.
I'm too emotional as it is.
They all chuckled appreciatively again, and Nabila looked up at Talisa.
You want to hold him?
Oh, I think I could be persuaded.
She carefully took the bundle and cradled the baby in the crook of her arm.
Wow, he's a sturdy boy.
10 pounds.
Talisa raised an eyebrow.
And you had him naturally without meds? Wow, Jerry's right. You really are a rock star.
Damn straight she is.
Jerry gave his wife an admiring look before nudging Eugene with his elbow and shooting him a sly smile.
So, when are you guys gonna hook my little dude up with a best friend to grow up with?
Talisa looked up and met Eugene's eye as they shared a knowing smile.
It's been discussed. We may or may not be working on it.
Wait, seriously?
Jerry looked back and forth between them.
I mean, we don't have any concrete proclamations to make at this point, and we are very early on in our endeavors, but yes, I would say that we are officially giving it the old college try.
Everyone in the room grinned and made noises of excitement. Ezekiel reached over and patted Eugene's shoulder firmly.
Congratulations to you both then. The growing of a family in this world is a beautiful thing.
Well, our family isn't officially growing yet, like Eugene said. We're just working on it.
The intent in and of itself is worth celebrating. These are the ones who will continue the world we are striving to build.
He looked down at the baby sleeping in Talissa's arms, and they all nodded in agreement.
Well, we better let you get some rest, Mama.
Talisa handed the baby back to Nabila, giving her one more quick hug.
We're heading out in the morning. We need to stop by Hilltop before we go home, but we'll be sure to come say goodbye before we leave, if that's okay.
Not only is it okay, but I'd be pretty peeved if you didn't. And we'd best see you back here soon and often.
You will, we promise.
She stood and gave Jerry a hug as well.
You take good care of them, okay, Dad?
Always.
Looks like they got a little more snow here.
Well, considering this is the most rural of our communities by far, it stands to reason they'd see the most significant weather.
The gates of Hilltop opened slowly, and they pulled the RV inside. The ground was covered in a light layer of frost, and the few people who were outside were huddled around fires in barrels. The bright morning sunlight gave everything a clean, crisp feeling, and Talisa took a long, slow breath, savoring the feeling of the cold, fresh air. She saw Maggie coming down the hill from the house with Herschel bundled up in a heavy down coat and beanie and slung on her hip.
Hey, what brings y'all here? I knew you'd be getting back soon, but I figured you'd go check in at the kingdom and then head straight back to Alexandria. Everything all right?
She gave Talisa a quick hug.
It's perfect. We just had something we wanted to drop off for you before we headed home.
Maggie looked at her in surprise.
For me?
Yeah, you want to go grab it, Eugene?
Absolutely.
He disappeared back into the RV, coming back out a minute later with a large box. Upon seeing it, Maggie's confused expression deepened as she looked between them.
What?
I think maybe we should take it up to the house. It's nothing bad, I promise.
She assured Maggie when she saw the brief look of concern cross her face.
It's good, in fact, but I think it's something you're probably going to want to open privately.
Okay.
Maggie turned to walk back up the hill, and they followed her. She walked up the stairs into the rooms on her left. They were connected, and the first one was set up like a living area with a roaring fire in the fireplace that kept the room warm.
Since it's gotten cold, we've moved out of the main part of the house. It's easier to heat the rooms individually.
Eugene sat the box down in the middle of the floor as Maggie walked over and put Herschel in his playpen to the left of the fireplace and took off his coat.
I'm going to go down and get an update from Jesus on any goings-on that may have taken place in our absence.
He nodded towards them and headed for the door.
You don't want to stay for this?
While I am very happy to have been a part of making this happen for you, Maggie, this was Talisa's brainchild entirely, and I'd just as soon let her take full credit. It was very good to see you, though.
Good to see you too, Eugene.
Maggie gave him a smile, and he nodded once more and walked back out of the room. Maggie turned back to Talisa and sat down on the floor next to the box.
So what in the world is this all about?
She reached out a hand to open it, but Talisa put a hand gently over hers and stopped her.
1 second, Maggie. I want to tell you what's in here before you open it. I want you to understand and be prepared.
Okay. Now you're starting to scare me a little.
There's nothing to be scared of, I promise. The trip Eugene and I went on. We kinda did a long road trip and went to a bunch of places we always wanted to see, but I also took him home to see the places I grew up in Michigan.
Okay.
Well, on our way out of Michigan, I saw something on the map that clicked in my brain. I saw we were going to pass right by the town of Fenville, and I figured couldn't hurt to give it a shot.
Maggie looked at her as her confusion slowly gave way to shock.
What does that mean?
You told me you would give anything to have at least one picture. I figured I might as well see if I could get a whole hell of a lot more than that.
Tears filled Maggie's eyes as she ran her hands across the top of the box almost reverently. Talisa saw she was trembling as she looked back up and met her eye.
Talisa, am I about to see Glenn again?
Yeah, you are.
Tears filled Talisa's eyes as well, as Maggie slowly opened the lid with trembling hands, and as she looked down, her face crumpled, and a sob escaped her lips. Talisa had intentionally put the framed picture of Glenn and his parents at his high school graduation on top, so it was the first thing she would see. She picked it up as she cried, and gently traced her fingertips across his face.
I was starting to forget his face. Oh my God.
She was half crying, half laughing now as she clutched the picture to her chest. Behind them, Herschel began to whimper. They turned and saw him standing in his playpen looking at Maggie in concern.
It's okay, baby. It's okay. Mama's happy, see?
Maggie wiped at the tears on her cheeks, smiling so he could see she wasn't upset. She stood and went over to pick him up, bringing him over to sit in her lap.
Look, baby, it's your daddy.
He reached out and touched Glenn's face, looking back at Maggie as if for confirmation.
Yes, sweetie, that's Daddy. And that's your grandma and grandpa, too.
Maggie kissed the top of his head as she looked back over at Talisa.
Talisa, I don't know how to thank you. There aren't words. I never thought I'd...
Hey, you don't have to thank me for anything. I was honored to do it.
She pulled a few more things out of the box.
I tried to take everything I could that I thought you'd like to have. Pictures, of course. Lots of them. From his whole life. And let me tell you his baby pictures. Herschel really is his twin. I took some stuff from his room that I thought maybe you'd want to. I know he hadn't lived there in years, but I figured maybe you'd want some of his childhood toys for Herschel, and some of his clothes. Oh, and his mom had a set of real pearls. I figured. Glenn was an only child. I'm sure she would have wanted them to go to her daughter-in-law.
It's perfect. It's more than I ever could have hoped for.
There's one more thing. There's a camcorder in the bottom of the box. It's dead. But if it's charged, Eugene says it should work fine. Glenn's dad was very thorough in organizing his tapes. If the labels are right, they run from Glenn's first birthday until he moved to Atlanta after high school.
There's movies of him in here?
The tears in Maggie's eyes were threatening to spill over again as Talisa nodded.
I figured. Herschel was robbed of getting to know his father. The least I could do is make sure he knows what he looked and sounded like. That he could see himself in that side of his family as well as yours.
Maggie nodded as she sat up and wrapped an arm around Talisa, hugging her tightly.
This is the most beautiful thing anyone has ever done for me. Thank you so much.
It was my absolute pleasure.
Dark clouds covered the horizon the next day as Talisa and Eugene pulled up to the gates of Alexandria. Large, cold drops of rain had begun to fall as she poked her head out the window and looked up at the guard tower where Tara was standing.
Hey, honey, we're home.
A grin spread across Tara's face as she looked down at them.
Holy shit!
She looked down at whoever was on gate duty.
It's Talisa and Eugene. Let them in.
Tara, you know the new protocol.
They couldn't see who it was, but Talisa thought it sounded like DJ, one of their newer residents who'd defected from the Saviors.
Did you not hear what I fucking said? It's Talisa and Eugene. They live here. They're both members of the damn council, for Christ's sake. We're not making them stay outside until Michonne can come meet them.
He said no except...
Open the damn gate before I come down there and kick your ass.
A few seconds later, the gate opened slowly to allow them entry. By the time they were inside, the rain was coming down in earnest. Sheets of it washed across the windshield as Tara threw open the side door and hopped inside, water running in ribbons down her face from her hair.
It's good to see you guys.
Good to see you too.
Talisa gave her a quick hug even though she was wet.
But what the hell just happened with the whole gate thing?
Long story. The short version is that one of Michonne's friends from before showed up and she tricked her, kidnapped Judith, and we almost didn't get her back. Michonne and Daryl went after her and got tortured in the process.
Oh my god, is she okay? Is the baby?
Both fine, miraculously.
Thank God for that.
Hey guys.
Rosita hopped into the RV beside Tara. She was wearing a heavy canvas coat with the hood pulled up over her signature baseball cap, so she was significantly less drenched, but water dripped off her coat nonetheless.
Michonne wants you over at her place.
Now? Can't we have a little time to go home and get settled before we do a debrief?
Sorry. She said now she's not too thrilled about Tara letting you in the first place.
Seriously?
She shot a look over at Eugene, who gave her a resigned shrug. She sighed and stood up, grabbing her coat and pulling the hood up.
Guess we should get it over with then.
After Eugene had also put on his coat, the four of them ran the distance from the RV to Michonne's front porch, where Aaron was standing just outside the door. As they approached, he gave them an apologetic smile.
Sorry about this, guys. Try not to take it personally. It's not about her not trusting you. Things have just been off around here for the past week.
They all walked into the house, removing their rain-soaked jackets in the foyer to attempt to track as little water and mud through the house as possible. When they reached the living room, Talisa saw a fire burning there in the fireplace and Michonne seated on the couch. While she'd never say it out loud, Talisa had to agree with Negan's assessment. She was huge. Her round belly was now her most prominent feature, and she struggled to stand as they walked in.
Michonne, good to see you.
In normal circumstances, she would have walked quickly across the room to hug her and comment on her growing belly. But Aaron was right. Something was definitely off. Michonne was wary and guarded. She didn't even acknowledge Talisa's greeting. She looked past her to Tara.
We have protocols for a reason, Tara.
Talisa opened her mouth in indignation, but to her surprise, Eugene got there first.
You'll excuse me if this seems blunt, but seeing as you and I have been traveling companions and what I would classify as battle-worn compatriots for several years now, not to mention my wife here has been a member of this community for longer than anyone else present, save Aaron. I believe we've garnered enough trust and shared history for me to confidently ask, what the hell?
Michonne's gaze shifted to him with a hard look.
It's not about trust or relationships, it's about safety. No one goes in or out unless they follow the rules now. It doesn't matter who they are.
And what are these new rules?
No going more than a day's ride away. And if you're out overnight, you stay in one of the houses outside the walls until I debrief you and deem you safe for re-entry.
Until you debrief us and deem us safe? Wow. Things really must have changed in the past 2 months, because when we left, decisions for the group were made by a council, not one supreme ruler.
They still are.
Talisa turned to look at Aaron in surprise.
So you're saying you and Gabriel are in agreement that she should get to dictate how and when people come and go in this community?
No, I'm not saying that. But for now, I understand her need to make safety and security a priority.
Well, we're in now.
Talisa put her hands on her hips, turning back to Michonne.
Are you saying you're kicking us out of our home?
No, I'm not saying that. I just need to ask you the preliminary questions I ask everyone who comes back in.
Fine, let's get it over with so we can go home.
How long were you gone?
Michonne, you already know the answer to...
Darlin', it behooves us to simply fall in line for the moment to expedite this farce.
Eugene gave her hand a squeeze before turning back to Michonne.
3 days shy of 2 months.
Where did you travel?
We stopped for 2 nights at the private airfield in Leesburg, then proceeded from there to the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum in Chattanooga for 2 nights, and 2 nights in a fire tower in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. We then traveled north, spending 3 days at Mount Rushmore in the Black Hills of South Dakota, a week and a half in Talisa's hometown of Newberry, Michigan, 4 days on the island of Mackinac in Michigan, and then we headed back east to spend the last week of our trip at Niagara Falls in Ontario, Canada, before coming south again to stop at the Kingdom 2 nights ago and Hilltop yesterday. There were also multiple rest stops and overnights in various locations while traveling.
Did you run into any other groups?
One on Mackinac Island.
Were they friendly or hostile?
Decidedly hostile. But, being that their reason for hostility seemed to be the fact that they were trapped on the island with no way of escape, a fact made clear to us when they unsuccessfully attempted to abscond with our boat, they don't pose a threat to anyone on the mainland.
All right then. New rules are no one leaves or comes in without permission, and permission is only given for specific reasons. I'll let Aaron and Rosita fill you in on what those are.
She looked up at them and smiled slightly for the first time since they'd walked into the room.
Welcome home, both of you.
They all walked back out onto the porch, where the rain had slowed to a steady drizzle.
What the hell happened to her? I get that she had a scare, but that woman
She pointed back into the house.
is not the Michonne I know.
It was more than just a scare. She really thought Judith had died, and that the person responsible was one of her oldest friends. It's completely shut her down, but not in the way she was before. It's like everything else went away, and she decided this fiercely protective, do whatever I have to version of herself is the only one that matters.
She's even stopped looking for Rick.
Talisa looked over at her in surprise.
She says she can't keep looking for him and keep Judith safe. She chose Judith.
Well, I guess I can respect that. But the rest of it? She's cutting us off from the other communities. How is that going to help us with the future we're trying to build?
It's not. I think as far as Michonne's concerned, that future is over. She's talking about how to make us self-sustaining so we don't have to scavenge or rely on the other communities in the future.
But she has to be aware that that concept goes against the very fabric of the dreams which Rick had for this world. How can she so quickly and recklessly abandon the legacy he wanted to leave behind?
Fear. I still have hope that with time she may come out of it, but I guess that we'll have to wait and see.
Talisa sighed and shook her head.
Well, I don't know about all of you, but I've had a long-ass day. I'm cold, I'm wet, and this has not exactly been the happy homecoming I was envisioning. So I'm going to go do my waiting and seeing from the comfort of my home with a long, luxuriously hot shower. I'll see you all tomorrow.
Talisa walked down the steps of Michonne's home into the last drops of the rain, and as she did, she shot a very pointed look back at Eugene. Rosita and Tara both smirked as he watched her go, completely oblivious to the interaction.
Eugene?
Eugene turned to Aaron with an innocent, questioning expression.
Yes?
Rosita rolled her eyes.
Dude, go home and take a freaking long hot shower with your wife.
Eugene jumped slightly as Talisa's intent finally registered in his mind, and he blushed.
Oh, right. Of course.
He shot them all a slightly guilty smile as he hurried down the steps after her.
So apparently we have to sign a ledger just to walk out the freaking gates now?
Talisa stormed angrily through the doors into the infirmary a few days later.
And hello to you too, Sunshine.
Siddiq said from the island he used as his workbench, where he was measuring and mixing medications.
Eugene wanted to go out and check the fortifications this morning, and the guard at the gate told him he needed to sign a ledger saying who he was, what he was doing, and when he left. It's like living in a damn prison state.
She hopped up on the island to sit next to Siddiq as he carefully added several drops of liquid into one of the beakers.
I think that may be slightly overdramatic. Know a lot of this stuff seems extreme, but if you really think about it, that one's just a good practice. How many times have we been in an emergency situation where we needed to know where everyone was quickly, and we had to scramble to remember who was outside and why? You're essentially complaining about your husband being that much safer, you know?
You're not supposed to make good points when I whine. You're supposed to agree with me and whine alongside me. Some best friend you are.
Man, you're crabby today.
I am not crabby.
He shot a pointed look at her, and after a second she rolled her eyes and gave him a reluctant smile.
Okay, fine. Maybe I'm a little crabby. But this Michonne thing has got me so frustrated. Not to mention I've been feeling weird all week.
Weird how?
I just can't seem to get out from under feeling exhausted, no matter how much I sleep. I'm irritable, I can admit it. I've had a headache for like 4 days straight, and I keep getting random dizzy spells.
Siddiq put down the beaker and turned to her, now in full doctor mode. He put his wrist against her forehead, and then carefully placed his hands on each side of her neck as he examined her.
No fever, and no swollen glands. You eating all right? No sore throat or upset stomach?
I was a little queasy yesterday around lunchtime, but it passed. It's really just the tiredness and the mood swings. But I mean, those aren't exactly out of the ordinary for me around this time of the month. I'm due to get.
Talisa trailed off, and her expression slid out of focus as she gazed unblinkingly at the far wall. Siddiq looked at her in concern and shook her slightly.
Hey, you good? What just happened?
I'm late.
She let her focus come back to him.
What?
In all the craziness of coming back, I didn't even think about it until now. But I'm a week and a half late.
Now it was Siddiq's turn to look shocked.
So you're saying...
Oh yeah, I'm saying.
Talisa rubbed her hands across her face.
I can't believe this is happening right now. Wow. Kinda surreal that I'm asking this, but do you happen to have?
Yep.
Siddiq walked over and opened one of the cabinets, pulling out a small, elongated package.
Most of them are expired, unfortunately, at this point, but this one is only a few months out, so it may be okay. Also, false negatives are way more common on expired tests than false positives, so if you get 2 lines...
Holy crap, this is actually happening.
A few minutes later, she was sitting on the island next to Siddiq, and they were both watching the test, sitting in its open wrapper like it was a bomb about to explode.
I take it from your reaction, this was not a planned event.
That's the stupidest part of all this. It totally was. Which is why I feel like such an idiot for not recognizing the signs. I just wasn't expecting it to happen this fast. I mean, we've been trying for less than a month. And with me being a week and a half late already, it must have happened, like, right away.
I mean, medically speaking, you know it only takes 1 time, right?
He nudged her shoulder with his, and she shot him a wry smile.
Yes, doctor. I'm aware of how conception works. It's just...
She sighed.
This isn't my first time trying for a baby. And the last time, well, to be honest, we were having a little bit of trouble. Everyone said try for a year before you get discouraged, but JP and I weren't the most patient, so we got some testing done after about 4 months. The doctor said everything looked good, but that it just took a little longer for some people. The world fell apart about 2 months after that, so we changed our plans, obviously. But I guess I always just assumed getting pregnant was something that didn't come easy to me, so this is kind of throwing me for a loop.
Well, I don't want to be insensitive or anything, but maybe this just goes to show you that the issue wasn't with you.
Talisa looked over at him curiously.
What do you mean?
To put it delicately, maybe it's more of a JP was working with boys from the high school swim team, but Eugene's fellas are going for Olympic gold, if you catch my drift.
Oh.
Talisa looked up at him and considered that for a second, before chuckling slightly and shaking her head.
Of course that's what it is. Man, Eugene really does have to make sure he's above average in everything he does, doesn't he?
Siddiq grinned appreciatively as the door behind him opened and Rosita walked in.
Hey Siddiq, you got any extra strength Tylenol? I tweaked something in my neck yesterday and it hurts like a Oh, I'm sorry, am I interrupting?
Kinda, but it's the infirmary, so it's not like I can expect people to stay out.
Hold on.
Rosita saw the test sitting on the counter next to her and pointed to it slowly.
Is that what the hell I think it is?
Yep. And I guess you might as well stay to see the results. What's one more person finding out about this before Eugene at this point?
Oh my god.
Rosita ran over and hugged Talisa so tightly she almost pulled her off the counter.
Oh my god, this is so awesome. And don't worry, I'll play totally dumb. I wouldn't spoil this moment for Eugene.
She looked from the test back to Talisa's nervous face.
It is a good thing, right? We're rooting for 2 lines here.
It's a good thing. It's also terrifying. Having a baby in this world isn't exactly ideal. And that's not even taking into consideration the pain aspect of it, which I'm actively not thinking about right now.
Hey, what happened to your faith in your doctor? I'm gonna get you through this. No sweat. You wait and see. I got Maggie through giving birth to Herschel, didn't I? And that pregnancy was considered high risk with her early complications.
Yeah, you did.
The egg timer Siddiq had set went off and Talisa jumped slightly.
Moment of truth. Remember, if it's negative, that might not mean anything with the test being expired. I'll have the blood test ready by tomorrow so we can confirm or deny anything that says.
Right.
Talisa took a deep breath as she took the pregnancy test out of the wrapper and turned it over to read it.
Talisa, are you home?
Eugene's voice came from the doorway, and she heard him taking off his coat and shoes.
I'd hoped the smell in here could have tipped you off to that.
A few seconds later, he appeared in the doorway and walked across the room to wrap his arms around her and give her a kiss.
Hey, honey. How was your day?
Long.
He walked over and opened the refrigerator door.
Hey, I've got vegetable stew and cornbread muffins in the oven.
Just getting a beverage, darling. Wouldn't dream of spoiling my appetite.
He grabbed a bottle of soda and sat down at the island to watch her.
So what made your day so long?
Well, while our perimeter as a whole held up fairly well through the winter months, some of the panels have begun to show signs of significant rust damage. To prevent their inevitable decline, we've decided to create a welding team for patchwork restoration. But that necessitates a detailed breakdown of each rusted panel, organized by severity of said rust damage in comparison to the scope of work needed. I had to log all the data and assist in the completion of the workflow chart before the project can be undertaken.
Hard work being the chief engineer and technical advisor, huh?
It is indeed, but I surely do love it.
And you're great at it, even if I do say so myself. In case I haven't said it today, I'm proud of you, Haircut.
Thank you, ma'am.
She kissed him once more and then turned back to get the cornbread out of the oven.
You feeling better than you were this morning?
Eugene asked as he stood and went to get bowls out of the cupboard for their dinner. Talisa looked down and smirked slightly. She'd spent the better part of the afternoon trying to figure out how to tell Eugene their huge news. She kept swinging back and forth between making some sort of fun gesture or just saying it outright. But now that he'd given her an opening, she decided to play around with it a little and see if he figured it out.
Yeah, I'm fine. I went over to the infirmary and talked with Siddiq. When I told him my symptoms, he figured it out pretty quick.
Oh?
Eugene looked over at her with a raised eyebrow.
Yeah, turns out I picked up a parasite while we were out on the road, but he says it's nothing to worry about. It'll resolve itself in about 8 months.
A parasite?
Eugene put down the bowls he was holding and walked over, cupping her face in his hands.
That doesn't sound like nothing. Is he absolutely certain that you'll be...
He stopped speaking and froze. He looked down at her slowly, and she saw the wheels turning in his head as he did the obvious math. He met her gaze and a smile spread slowly across his face.
Did I mishear you? Or did you just say 8 months?
I did.
So if my calculations are correct, that would mean, with our initial conversation about our potential future being approximately 3 weeks ago.
You've always been an overachiever.
Eugene's face broke into a huge grin as he grabbed her and kissed her so fiercely, he almost lifted her off her feet. He pulled back and pressed his forehead to hers. He had happy tears in his eyes as she cupped his cheek in her hand and smiled up at him.
Really? You're sure?
Pretty sure.
She reached over and pulled the test out of her bag on the counter, showing him the 2 dark pink lines.
It's an expired test, so Siddiq did a blood test too, that we'll get in the morning. But he said it's way more likely to get a false negative than a false positive with an old test, and this one is very clearly positive.
So, we're having a baby?
Yeah, we are Haircut. Sometime in December, we're going to go from the 2 of us to the 3 of us.
Absolutely incredible.
He kissed her softly, smirking as he pulled away.
While we're on the topic, don't think it escaped my notice that you just called our child a parasite.
Well, I mean, you should know, Mr. Scientist. If we're speaking on a purely biological level, that's what it is. Though this particular parasite is entirely wanted and loved.
Eugene smiled again and placed a hand against her stomach. She ran her fingers through the hair against his temple as she searched his face.
And you're happy about it, right? I mean, I know you're happy, I can see that. And I know it's what we wanted. But it's really real now. Are you scared at all?
I am nothing but absolutely and entirely thrilled. You have given me above and beyond anything I ever could have hoped for. I love you so much.
When I Fall is a work of fiction based on AMC's The Walking Dead. Any characters not created by the author are the property of said company. The story will continue in the next chapter.